Coming into this season, we had two things that we were really going to rely on, the reveal cameras and hunt stand. By using those two things, we were really able to cut down our footprints on the farms that we're hunting. That let the deer really get more comfortable with what's going on. So it's so nice to just get the picture sent to your phone and not have to go in there and change it every 2 weeks or go check your cards. By doing that, we were able to pattern some really good deer, and that was an example of when Garrett shot the biggest deer on that farm on October 3rd. That was a farm that we've hunted for years, so we really knew how the deer moved anyway, but by using our reveal, we knew where he was, who he was, and it didn't take long for whenever he showed up for Garrett to know that that was the shooter on the farm.
Well, here he is, guys. Man, it was an awesome hunt. I mean, the first weekend of October, you love to see highs of 50s and lows of 30s. I could not be more happy. Can't wait to get him in the truck and get him home.
After that, October 3rd, Garrett's done, and he becomes full-time cameraman for me and Talon and Drexel, and he videos Drexel shooting his deer. And so then it came down to where I got my vacation, and right as I was getting ready to take vacation, Garrett's football coach had called him and said, hey, there's a big deer right by your guys' house. And so we all hear those rumors and that, and Garrett happened to see that deer one night and just had points going everywhere, had double drop tines and had a big flyer on the backside. And with knowing where that deer was, we really decided that that was the deer I was going to try and chase. So I had 2 weeks solid off for vacation right in the middle of the rut. And I put a reveal up in a little thicket that I was pretty sure that big buck would be using, and sure enough, we got tons and tons of pictures of him. But just playing cat and mouse with him, it never worked out that I was in the stand whenever he was walking by. Several times I was in the stand and Talon would call me and say, hey, home fry is just south of you, or this, and you know, just so frustrating, but trying to stick with it and knowing that that was the deer I really wanted to kill.
Well, we're trying something a little unorthodox tonight. Our neighbors have been seeing a big buck, and Garrett's seen him twice, and yesterday he saw him at 4:30 in the afternoon chasing some does. So I called around. I've got permission to go in on most of the farms, but it's really like wide open. We're just going to try and get in here and tuck into a cedar tree and hopefully catch him coming out to push does. We're about quarter mile from the house. So backyard bucks worked for me in South Dakota. Let's see if it works in Iowa in 2020. He's been seen here quite a few times. We're hoping one more time, and we just happen to be here when he's here. So wish us luck, but it would be pretty awesome to kill him. He's pretty famous. It seems like everybody's seen him now, so we're probably gonna have some competition.
It came down to a point that vacation was running out. I'd been hunting that deer so hard, I really felt like I should probably give those spots a little bit of a rest. So I went to another old standby we have. It's a 40-acre farm. It's CRP. It's just got a big draw that runs through it, and it's surrounded by crops. So everything comes through. It's one of those unicorn farms. I mean, if I sat in there with a southeast wind, the deer walk downwind of me all the time, and very rarely do I get busted. So we've just really been lucky and figured that farm out.
Hey, November 17th, we're sitting in a thicket that has CRP on both sides, but they mowed the CRP, so it kind of pushes everything down into this for sure. We've already seen a few deer running and chasing. There's deer all over the place on the way up here, so we'll see how we get along. Hopefully it works out this morning.
I had put a horizontal rub right next to that stand, and I'd done that earlier in September, and that was kind of an experiment that I was trying, and it worked out really well for us. But the first deer in the morning, I was sitting there and I saw a big mature 8-point, and he came in at he was about 35 yards, and there was no getting him to stop. I had honestly considered shooting him. He wasn't going to score great, but he was a mature deer, big body, big Roman nose, just definitely probably a 5.5-year-old deer. and he made it through, and I didn't get a shot at him. So I sat there and I kept hearing some deer moving and running, and I looked down and I saw 2 does, and they were running in the ditch below me. And there was a good buck with them, and he kept pushing them around and pushing them around, and pretty soon they came up and they were in the little flat right in front of me. So they're about 45 yards from me. And I heard something to my right. When I looked over, there's a small buck standing right next to the stand, rubbing on my horizontal rub that I had put up there. Well, that was just enough to get that big deer interested and curious enough that he came over and he was going to push that other buck out of there. Well, I kind of told myself I wasn't going to shoot that deer because I had home fry, the deer that we had been chasing, still knowing where he was and thinking that it would have to be a giant. And that deer came and he walked right underneath my stand. And as I stood there and watched him, I knew he was mature. He was a great deer, super good tine length, and he was standing 8 yards in front of my stand. And I still thought, I'm going to pass him, I'm going to pass him. And so he went back after he pushed the little buck off, and he went back with those does. And I was self-filming, so I got to video him breeding a doe right in front of me at about 40 yards. And the more I watched it, the more I thought, you know, I got 2 days of vacation left, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to get this other deer killed. And there's a lot of hunting pressure on where he's at, and people are seeing him. So one of those things where, you know, a deer in hand is better than 2 in the bush, I guess. So I thought if that deer gives me another shot, I'm going to go ahead and take him.
It looked like a pretty good deer. I've been chasing this home fry buck and he's just kicking my butt. I really need to get back to work, get some bills paid. Got to watch that deer chase does all morning and watch him breed this doe right here. Pretty awesome sight. Had him right here at like 10 yards. I had the camera zoomed in trying to self-film it so hard. But I don't know. I think I hit him good. I think he's gonna be dead. We'll see. Pretty awesome deer, almost a little palmation on that left side. But he ran quite a ways. I saw him go down through there, so give him some time and we'll see what happens.
So we went back and Drexel was free that morning and Garrett was at school, and my little girl, Oakley, was home because she was on quarantine because somebody in her class had COVID. So she was home, and so we decided that she could come out, and so Garrett and I went home and picked up Oakley and Garrett and Drexel, and we all went out.
Hopefully we got a good buck down on the ground. Let's go over here and see what we find. Good red blood, got some bubbles in it. Looks like I got a lung anyway.
And walked right up on the deer and found him just laying, like I said, probably about 150 yards from the stand. He just piled up.
Garrett, he's right there. He's right there. I see him. I see his rack. We found him, Oakley. Yay! All right, let's go up here and see him.
And so it's so awesome to be able to share that with Oakley and Garrett and Drexel, who I've shared tons of hunts with, and you know, just being able to wrap it all up at that point. And just the excitement of that has now got Oakley, who's 8, so excited to go youth hunting that that's all I hear. And so we'll be looking at that this next fall and trying to get her and Allie back out on some deer, and just super blessed to have a great day and to be able to shoot a great deer.
We got trail cam pictures of him. We actually call him Blade because of this big bladed brow tine. That thing's about 1.5 inches wide maybe. Just a super cool mature buck.
I'm grateful that I got him. Looks like he broke a little bit of his kicker off on this side, but he's a good deer. Happy with him. Big old Roman nose. Was breeding does. He was the man in here this morning. So super blessed, thankful. Appreciate these guys coming out to help me. We'll get him hung up and get him home after I get all the stick tights off of me. Which is a never-ending job in Iowa. Even though I didn't get a kill home fry, he was still there and he was still visible. And of course, right after I shot my buck and filled my tag, we just started getting gobs of trail cam pictures of him standing right in front of my stand and just kind of taunting me. But there was definitely an opportunity for somebody to go in and get on home fry and finish that story as well. And Garrett and I were both tagged out, and so we kind of turned to Talon and told Talon that he could hunt our stands and whatever it took if we could help him get home fry. Or Talon has another buck that he chases that runs with home fry, and they call him Gimpy. So that was kind of what our focus switched to, was trying to get Talon's deer and just getting one of those two for him. And so that's how we finished out the rest of our bow season, was just videoing Talon and trying to keep tabs on those two deer.